Hello, friends. Welcome to today's reflection and meditation. Flowing with balance. Flowing in balance. We're going to continue along the route of the body as being our entry point. But I want to offer two quotes that kind of till the soil. They don't deal directly with how we're going to approach this, but they do speak to it in the broader sense, because I want to leave you with a question today for you to explore. So here's a quote by Osho, and you can Google him if you're not familiar with Osho Rajneesh. He says, "Sadness gives depth. Happiness gives height. Sadness gives roots. Happiness gives branches. Happiness is like a tree going into the sky, and sadness is like the roots going down into the womb of the earth. Both are needed. The higher a tree goes, the deeper it goes simultaneously. The bigger the tree, the bigger will be its roots. In fact, it is always in proportion. That's its balance." Now, the only complicatedness I would add to this is that obviously you have trees that aren't direct proportion, right? You get aspens that have interconnecting roots, and you get the sierras whose root system as well doesn't reach in proportion to their width and height. But you get the image there of what we're talking about with balance. And similarly, on a similar note of happy sad, Alan Watts with pleasure and pain. Alan says, "We cannot be more sensitive to pleasure without being more sensitive to pain." I'm going to read a bit of the commentary on this. Alan Watts reminds us that to experience the fullness of life, we must open ourselves to both joy and sorrow. We cannot be more sensitive to pleasure without being sensitive to pain, inviting us to see that pleasure and pain are two sides of the same coin. Often we seek only the highs and try to avoid the lows, but true sensitivity, which he's equating here, is true aliveness, comes from embracing both. If we numb ourselves to pain, we dull our ability to feel joy. If we allow ourselves to truly feel present with each experience, we unlock a depth of life that goes beyond mere comfort. This isn't easy, but perhaps balance is where real peace lies. The peace that does not reject sadness or suffering. So one of the things that this does for us is it breaks apart the rigid expectations we have, right? Because we can oftentimes look at our lives as though the attainment of the fullness of life is the establishment into undaunted joy that looks a certain way. But what if it was that our joy was in the holding of the balance of all these varying states? So balance, it's a beautiful and bittersweet realization, right? It is walking a path of contrasts. Yes, walking a path of contrasts. So what I want to put out there as our reflection that will lead right to the meditation is breath. And I'm going to lay out two ways that breath has a flow to it, has two sides of a coin to it. The first is the really obvious one, and that is the fact that we aspirate and respirate. So let me give you a quick reminder of what this is actually. It starts with our nose, and that whole cavity is made up of nostrils, the nasal cavity, cilia and mucus, filtration, and turbinates, which are scroll-shaped bones that provide more surface area for the air to cross before it goes more deeply into our system. And then the mid process is the pharynx, larynx, and trachea. And then the trachea moves exactly into what we call as the lung space, which is made up of bronchi that break into bronchioles that end as alveoli. And the alveoli is where gas exchange happens. That's the very point where there is oxygen uptake. That means the body is filled with oxygen uptake. That means it goes from there into our bloodstream and into our cells. But it's also the place that carbon dioxide is released. So the alveoli receives the carbon dioxide, and as we exhale, releases it. And what makes this an involuntary function is largely the pressure and the balance, the natural balancing between these elements of oxygen and carbon dioxide, of pressure in, pressure out. So even though we breathe without effort, the breathing itself is happening in response to our human need and capacity. And then there is another way I want to refer to balance, and that is that you may or may not realize this, but we largely breathe in and out of one side and then alternate to the other side. Now, I used to believe that it was 90 minutes rotation, and usually how you can tell that this is so for you is that notice it when you have a cold next time, and notice if like the right nostril is totally clogged up, and then notice if a couple hours later, all of a sudden the left side is totally clogged up and the right is open. It's largely because the body is constantly rotating back and forth as to which side of the body is inhaling and exhaling. And with this then, we go a little deeper, and much research shows that this is largely geared towards the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight. So we have that active in us even when there's not danger. And the parasympathetic is the rest and digest. So this is constantly being balanced within us. And involuntarily, we are always breathing in the rhythm of where the sympathetic nervous system is most activated. Isn't that fascinating? And so with this dominance of the sympathetic, what happens as well is that we have the opportunity to let our breath work with both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So when we engage in certain pranayama practices, part of the fruit of that is that we can bring about calm, which the parasympathetic is really good at helping out. And so part of that's a no-brainer. Think about when you just stop and breathe and then you relax. And then you notice, oh my gosh, I have been operating from an intense amount of stress. Wow, I didn't expect that. But when you exhale and relax, you notice the difference, the contrast. Well, balance is allowing both to be fully engaged, parasympathetic and sympathetic, in a way that the sympathetic is not always dominating. Hence why breath exercises tend to help with that. Well, there's one breath exercise in particular that we've done before if you've been with me, and that's the one we're going to do today, but I want to talk about it a little bit. Now, I've called it Anuloma Viloma, but the Sanskrit that is most widely used in yoga circles is Nadi Shodhana. And this breathing exercise is called alternate nostril breathing. Now, because it's so ancient, it goes back so many years, it's one of those that's been carried on for as long as we know. there's been a lot of research in these later years, and I would say that there is research that is somewhat conclusive and in many ways inconclusive. So scientific research can't quite come to a complete conclusion. You do get isolated tests that do give us some conclusion. If for sure the alternate nostril breathing does something very specifically, because what it claims to do that seems to work is, first, it balances the left and right hemispheres of the brain. So think about if your sympathetic nervous system is dominant on your right now, which I believe is connected with the left hemisphere of the brain. If it's dominant, usually then the left active side is going to have a lot of energy. And then when it switches the sympathetic nervous system over to this side, naturally this side of the brain is going to be more active. So you've got this going on back and forth, and alternate nostril breathing, which is forcing the inhale and the exhale through the different nostrils rhythmically, is forcing a bridge between the hemispheres. And there is research that shows this is true. I haven't found conclusive enough research to say that it's definitively and unobjectionably so. But there is a fair amount. But the second is that it helps stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. So since we do know for sure that the sympathetic nervous system is dominant, and that the side of the body that's inhaling and exhaling is actually doing so because the sympathetic nervous system is active on that side. So since we know that, alternate nostril breathing does effectively bring the parasympathetic kind of into a balance with the sympathetic, into a balance with. And another thing that it does is it stimulates the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is highly tied to the parasympathetic nervous system. So we do have some conclusive evidence that this type of breathing is helpful in bringing balance and flow. How willing and open are you to stepping up in a new way to living a balanced life and allowing all the contrasts to exist? Since sympathetic is fight or flight, how willing are you to allow that to not dominate anymore, but to coexist with the parasympathetic? How willing are you in a new way to accept pleasure and pain as important leverages to being more fully alive? How willing are you to entertain that joy and sorrow both have their place and allow you to touch in on the deep love and tenderness of who and what you are? It doesn't mean that you need to have sorrow to have joy. It means that you are open to recognizing that to live fully is to live fully accepting of the balance and the import of these seeming contrasts. How willing? You can take that as your reflection question today. All right. So are you excited about a little Nadi Shodhana, little alternate nostril breathing? Just know that if you start to get very lightheaded, then just stop and join back in when you're able, because we're going to be doing an extended session here, which means you may not have the capacity to do the entire session from start to finish, and that's okay. Now, I'm not going to get into all the mudras and all the sophistication that can go into this practice. I simply want you to choose which hand you want to use, and just know that I'll be directing it from a right-handed approach. So if you're doing left-handed, you're going to have to pay attention to the nostrils that are opening and closing and not the fingers used. And I personally like ring finger and thumb. It just letting the hand relax. But you can do anything. And if you're inclined to do the third eye piece, you can do that. Do anything you want, but figure out what you're gonna do first, okay? I'm doing ring finger and thumb, and I'm not doing anything fancy beyond that. And then you're gonna follow my guidance. There are times we're gonna hold, there's times we're gonna release. If you get distracted, jump back in when you're able. If I make a mistake, jump in as you're able. Hold the rhythm. All right, I invite you to close your eyes. And breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Continue this in through the nose and out through the mouth. And through the mouth, just make a light whoosh sound. Whoosh. Offer gratitude as you're inhaling through the nose, that the nose with the cilia and mucus is filtering out anything that could harm your lungs, and exhaling, offering gratitude for this natural filtration system that keeps you alive and in relationship with your surroundings. Keeping that same rhythm and offering a moment of gratitude for the way the nasal passages warm the air coming in to make it the perfect temperature for your body. And that the canals and the turbinates create enough surface area that gives the amount of time needed for the perfect warmth to take place. Offering gratitude for that. Continuing with the same rhythm and offering gratitude for the way the nasal passages humidify the air so that it's the perfect ratio with what your body needs. Providing the right amount of water, the right elements to humidify the air coming in, that your body can receive it and have the greatest oxygen uptake possible. Now get your hand ready to begin the alternate nostril breathing, choosing which fingers are going to open and close. Place the fingers on your cheeks and inhale and exhale. Cover the right nostril, inhale through the left. Close both nostrils and hold. Exhale through the right nostril and hold. Inhale, right nostril. Close both and hold. Exhale, left nostril. Hold. Inhale, left nostril. Hold. Exhale, right nostril. Hold. Inhale, right nostril. Hold. Exhale, left nostril. Hold. Inhale, left nostril. Close both nostrils and hold. Exhale, right nostril. Hold. Inhale, right nostril. Close both and hold. Exhale, left nostril. Inhale, left nostril. Hold. Exhale, right nostril. Hold. Inhale, right nostril. Hold. Exhale, left nostril. Hold. Inhale, left nostril. Hold. Close both. Exhale, right nostril. Hold. Inhale, right nostril. Close both. Hold. Exhale, left nostril. Hold. Inhale, left nostril. Close both and hold and tilt the head back. Exhale, right nostril. Come back to center. Inhale, right nostril. Close both and hold. Tilt the head back. Exhale, left nostril, keeping the head back, bringing the head back straight. Hold. Inhale, left nostril. Close both, tilt the head back and hold. Exhale, right nostril, bringing the face back to center. Hold. Inhale, right nostril. Tilt the head back as you're inhaling. Hold. Exhale, left nostril. Bring the head back to center. Inhale, left. Tilting the head back at the same time. Hold. Exhaling right, bringing the head back to center. Inhaling right, tilt the head back. Hold, closing both. Exhaling left, come back to center. Hold. Keep the head straight. Inhaling left. Close both and hold. Exhaling right, tilt the head down to the chest. Hold. Inhaling right, bring the head back to center. Hold, both closed. Exhaling left, tilting the head down to the chest. Hold. Inhaling left. Come to center and hold. Exhaling right. tilting the head down to the chest. Hold. Inhaling right. Come to center. Hold, both nostrils closed. Exhaling left, tilt the head down to the chest. Hold. Inhaling left, tilt the head center and then up. Holding both nostrils. Exhaling right, bringing the head back to the chest. Hold. Inhaling right, raising the head and then tilting back. Both nostrils closed and hold. Exhaling left, tilting the head back down to the chest and hold. Inhaling left, raising the head and tilting it back. Close both nostrils and hold. Exhaling right, coming to center. Inhaling right, leaving the head centered. Close both nostrils and hold. Exhaling left, leaving the head center and hold. Inhaling left, keeping the head centered. And close both nostrils and hold. Exhaling right, keeping head center. Inhaling right. Close both and hold. Exhaling left. Hold. Inhaling left. Close both and hold for as long as you're able to. And once you can hold no longer, release your hand. Keeping the eyes closed, come back to your regular rhythm of breathing. Form your own intention for how you would like to step into greater balance so that you may have within you the fullness of the flow of life. And when you are ready, open your eyes. I hope you found that to be fun. I sure did. Have a great day.